Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Good morning. It's good morning when I'm recording this video. I'm excited to see Mr. Wyckoff and Mr. Mays' homerooms. Leave my bagel alone, Cash. See Mr. Wyckoff and Mr. Mays' homerooms in about an hour and answer any of those questions. I just want to tell you guys, to my students, make sure that you are not arguing with your parents. They are doing the best that they can, and they have to help you with your education right now because we're not able to go to school. So please make sure that you are being patient, that you are being kind, that you are working hard. We do not expect you to complete an entire school day like we would do if we were at school. Our expectation is that you complete between 90 and 180 minutes of work daily. You can do that all together. You can take breaks. Whatever is going to work best for you and your schedule is fine. We hope that you spend 15 to 30 minutes a day on every subject. So it might be 30 minutes doing your ELA packet, 30 minutes of doing your math packet, 30 minutes of doing IXL for science, and then 30 minutes of doing IXL for social studies. Or it could be 30 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of Moby Max Math, an experiment for science, and then doing some social studies. You guys, it's your schedule, but we expect 15 to 30 minutes a subject. We expect that if you are doing Moby Max, that we can record your progress. We will be checking that. We expect that if you are doing the paper pencil packet work, that you send us pictures once a week so we can see your progress on that as well. That is going to help you get your credit to pass 5th grade and move on next year. And this video can count as part of your ELA time. I'm fine with that. We are going to continue on reading. What are you looking at, Cash? Reading Number the Stars. We just read chapter 11, where they were taking the Jewish people to the boats, and Anne-Marie realized that Henrik was going to take them in the boat across to Sweden. So chapter 12 is called Where Was Mama? Mr. Rosen tripped on the loose step outside the kitchen door. His wife grasped his arm and he regained his balance. It's very dark, Mama whispered as they stood in the yard with their blankets and bundles of food gathered in their arms, and we can't use any kind of light. I'll go first. I know the way very well, and you follow me. Try not to stumble over tree roots in the path. Feel carefully with your feet. The path is uneven. And be very, very quiet, she added, unnecessarily. The night was quiet, too. A slight breeze moved the tops of the trees, and from across the meadow came the sound of the sea's movement, which was a constant sound here, and had always been. But no birds called or cried here now in the night. The cow slept silently in the barn, and the kitten upstairs in Christy's arms. There were stars here and there, dotting the sky, among thin clouds, but no moon. Anne-Marie shivered, standing at the foot of the steps. Come, Mama murmured as she moved away from the house. One by one, the Rosens turned and hugged Anne-Marie silently. Ellen came to her last. The two girls held each other. I'll come back someday, Ellen whispered fiercely. I promise. I know you will, Anne-Marie whispered back, holding her friend tightly. Then they were gone, Mama and the Rosens. Anne-Marie was alone. She went into the house, crying suddenly, and closed the door against the night. The lid of the casket was closed again. Now the room was empty. There was no sign of people who sat there for those hours. Anne-Marie wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She opened the dark curtains of the windows, and she curled once more in the rocker, trying to relax. She traced the route in her mind. She knew the old path, too. Not as well as her mother, who had followed it almost every day of her childhood, with the dog scampering behind. But Anne-Marie had often walked to town and back that way. And she remembered the turns, the twisted trees whose gnarled roots pushed the earth now, and then into knotted clumps, and the thick bushes that often flowered in the early summer. She walked with them in her mind, feeling the way through the darkness. It would take them, she thought, half an hour to reach the place where Uncle Henrik was waiting. Mama would leave them there, pausing a minute, no more, for a final hug. And then she would turn and come home. It would be faster for Mama alone, with no need to wait as the Rosens, unfamiliar with the path, slowly felt their way along. Mama would hurry, sure-footed now, back to her children. The hall, and the clock in the hall struck once. It was 2:30 in the morning. Her mother would be home in an hour, Anne Marie decided. She rocked gently back and forth in the old chair. Mama would be home by 3:30. She thought of Papa, back in Copenhagen alone. He would be awake too. He would be wishing he could have come, but knowing too that he must come and go as always to the corner store for the newspaper, to his office when morning came. Now he would be afraid for them, and watching the clock, waiting for word that the Rosens were safe, that Mama and the girls were here at the farm, starting a new day with the sun shining through the kitchen window and cream in their oatmeal. It was harder for the ones who were waiting, Anne Marie knew. Less danger, perhaps, but more fear. She yawned. She yawned, and her head nodded. She fell asleep, and it was sleep as thin as the night clouds, dotted with dreams that came and went like stars. Light woke her, but it was not really morning, not yet. It was only the first hint of slightly lightening sky, a pale gleam at the edge of the meadow, a sign that far away somewhere to the east where Sweden still slept, morning would be soon coming. Dawn would creep across the Swedish farmland and coast, and then it would wash little Denmark with light and move across the North Sea to wake Norway. Anne Marie blinked in confusion, sitting up, remembering after a moment where she was and why. But it was not right. The pale light in the horizon. It should still be dark. It should still be night. She stood stiffly, stretching her legs, and went to the hall to look at the old clock. It was past 4 o'clock. Where was Mama? Perhaps she had come home, not wanted to wake Anne Marie, and gone to bed herself. Surely that was it. Mama must have been exhausted. She had been up all night. Had to make that dangerous journey to the boat and returned through the dark woods, wanting only to sleep. Quickly, Anne Marie went up the narrow staircase to the door of the bedroom where she had slept with Ellen. Was open. The 2 small beds were neatly made, covered with old quilts, and empty. Beside it, Uncle Henrik's door was open too, and his bed too was unused and empty. Despite her worry, Anne Marie smiled slightly when she saw some of Uncle Henrik's clothes crumpled in a chair and a pair of shoes caked with barnyard dirt lying on the floor. He needs a wife, she said to herself, imitating Mama. The door to the other bedroom, the one with Christy and Mama were sharing, was closed. Quietly, not wanting to wake them, Anne Marie pushed it open. The kitten's ears moved, standing up straight. Its eyes opened wide, and it raised its head and yawned. It pried itself out of Christy's arms, stretched, and then jumped lightly to the floor and came to Anne Marie. It rubbed itself against her leg and purred. Christy sighed and turned in her sleep. One arm, free now of the kitten's warmth and comfort, flung itself across the pillow. There was no one else in the wide bed. Anne Marie moved quickly to the window, which overlooked the clearing and the path. The light outside was still very dim, and she peered through the dimness, trying to see, looking for an opening in the trees where the path began, looking for Mama hurrying home. After a second, she saw a shape there, something unfamiliar, something that had not been there the day before, a dark shape, no more than a blurred heap at the beginning of the path. Anne Marie squinted, needing to understand, not wanting to understand. The shape moved, and she knew it was her mother, lying on the earth. And that's where we're going to stop, right there. So, what's going to happen? What happened to Mama? Where are the Rosens? What's going on? Let's see. We'll have to see tomorrow. Only a couple chapters left. The boys are being barky today. Alright guys, I will see some of you soon. I hope you have a good Tuesday and are staying busy. Stay safe.